The Qing dynasty, also known as the Manchu dynasty, was the last imperial dynasty in China, ruling from 1644 to 1912. The dynasty had a complex and evolving foreign policy, which was shaped by a range of factors including geopolitical concerns, economic interests, and cultural values. Over the course of the dynasty, there were significant changes and fluctuations in China's foreign policy, which had a profound impact on the country and its relationships with other nations. Under the early Qing emperors, China's foreign policy was characterized by a desire for stability and security. The dynasty sought to establish peaceful relations with neighboring countries, and relied on a system of tribute and diplomacy to maintain its influence in the region. China's foreign policy during this period was also shaped by a desire to protect its economic interests, particularly in trade and commerce. However, over time, China's foreign policy became increasingly assertive and expansionist. This was driven in part by the country's growing economic and military power, as well as by a desire to assert its cultural and political dominance in the region. This shift in foreign policy was reflected in China's military campaigns against neighboring countries, as well as in its efforts to establish colonies and dependencies in Southeast Asia. The changes in China's foreign policy had significant implications for the country and its relationships with other nations. In particular, China's increasing assertiveness and expansionism led to conflict and tension with other powers, including Japan and European colonial powers. This was reflected in a series of wars and conflicts, including the Opium Wars, the Boxer Rebellion, and the Sino-Japanese War. The changes in China's foreign policy also had significant implications for the country's domestic politics and society. China's increasing engagement with the outside world led to the emergence of new economic and social forces, such as merchants, traders, and intellectuals, who advocated for greater openness and reform. This contributed to the growth of new political movements, including the 100 Days Reform and the Republican Revolution, which sought to modernize and transform China's political system and society. The Qing dynasty pursued a largely isolationist foreign policy for much of its rule. However, in the 19th and 20th centuries, the Qing court gradually opened up China to foreign trade and diplomacy due to threats from Western imperialism. This led to changes in China's international relations and its place in the global order. In the 1800s, China opened several treaty ports where foreign merchants could conduct trade. It also established embassies in Europe and sent ambassadors to the West. However, China was subjected to unequal treaties, territorial concessions, and economic exploitation by Western powers. This highlighted China's weakness and humiliation on the global stage. There were two Opium Wars with Britain in the 1800s, resulting in the cession of Hong Kong. China also lost territory and rights to France, Russia, Japan, and other states. The Sino-Japanese War of 1895 symbolized the defeat of an ancient imperial dynasty by a rising modern power. It shocked Chinese nationalists and weakened the Qing court. In the early 20th century, China tried to reform its political and military systems to strengthen itself. The Qing court also sent foreign ambassadors to build alliances with other non-Western nations. However, China was unable to prevent further territorial loss and humiliation by Western and Japanese imperialism. The unequal treaties remained in force until World War II. The decline in China's prestige and independence had significant consequences. It aroused Chinese nationalism and calls for reform. The May 4th movement and New Culture movement promoted Western sciences and democracy. It also led to the overthrow of the Qing dynasty in 1912 and the establishment of the Republic of China. The Qing dynasty's diplomacy, especially in the 19th century, resulted in the opening of China but also its semi-colonization by foreign powers. The wars and treaties highlighted China's weakness and vulnerability on the global stage. However, they also spurred the nationalist spirit that would shape modern China. The legacies of Western imperialism and unequal relations with other nations continue to impact China for decades. In conclusion, the Qing dynasty made gradual efforts at diplomacy and reform but was ultimately unable to maintain China's independence and prestige on the global stage. The maritime and territorial concessions weakened China's position, while the wars and treaties symbolized its defeat and humiliation by Western and Japanese imperialism. Still, China drew lessons and resolve from these experiences, paving the way for revolution and a new era of strength, unity, and global partnership. The Qing dynasty's evolving foreign policy, for better or worse, reshaped China's place in the world and sowed the seeds of change that would define the nation's destiny. Its impacts, both harmful and constructive, endure in China's diplomacy and geopolitical identity today. The foreign policy of the Qing dynasty underwent several changes and transformations during its reign. During the early period of the dynasty, the Qing rulers adopted a policy of isolationism, which was aimed at protecting the country from foreign influence and interference. This policy was largely successful, and the country was able to remain relatively isolated from the rest of the world. However, in the late 18th century, the Qing rulers began to shift their foreign policy to one of expansionism. This policy was aimed at increasing the power and influence of the Qing dynasty, and it led to the establishment of a number of tributary states in East Asia. This policy of expansionism had a significant impact on China and the surrounding countries, as it led to increased trade and commerce between the two regions. Additionally, it also led to an increase in diplomatic relations between China and the other countries, as the Qing dynasty sought to build alliances and strengthen its position in the region. The Qing dynasty's foreign policy also had a lasting impact on the rest of the world. The policy of expansionism led to the spread of Chinese culture, language, and customs to other countries, which helped to create a more unified East Asian region. Additionally, the policy of expansionism also led to increased trade between China and the other countries, which helped to promote economic growth in the region. Overall, the foreign policy of the Qing dynasty underwent several changes and transformations during its reign. This policy of expansionism had a significant impact on China and the surrounding countries, and it helped to create a more unified East Asian region. Additionally, the policy of expansionism also led to increased trade between China and the other countries, which helped to promote economic growth in the region. The Qing dynasty, also known as the Manchu dynasty, ruled China from 1644 to 1912. During this period, the dynasty's foreign policy underwent significant changes and fluctuations, with important consequences for China and its relations with other countries.
The Eastern Han Dynasty was a period of significant political, economic, and cultural development in China that lasted from 25 AD to 220 AD. The dynasty was founded by Lu Shu, who became Emperor Guangwu after defeating the rival warlord Wang Mong. The Eastern Han Dynasty marked a period of stability and prosperity after the chaos of the Qin and Western Han dynasties. One of the major achievements of the Eastern Han Dynasty was the establishment of a strong and centralized government. Emperor Guangwu created a system of officials and bureaucrats who were appointed based on their merit rather than their social status. This system helped to promote social mobility and allowed talented individuals to rise to positions of power. The Eastern Han Dynasty also saw significant economic development. The government promoted agriculture and the development of irrigation systems, which led to increased crop yields and a more stable food supply. The dynasty also saw the growth of trade and commerce, particularly along the Silk Road. This trade network helped to connect China to other parts of the world, and brought new ideas and technologies to the country. Culturally, the Eastern Han Dynasty was a period of significant artistic and literary achievement. The dynasty saw the development of new forms of poetry and literature, including the Fu and the Chuanqi. The period also saw the development of new styles of music, dance, and theater. The Eastern Han Dynasty was also a period of significant religious development. The period saw the rise of Taoism, which emphasized the importance of living in harmony with nature and the universe. The dynasty also saw the spread of Buddhism, which had been introduced to China during the Western Han Dynasty. Buddhism had a significant impact on Chinese culture and society, and helped to shape the development of Chinese art, literature, and philosophy. Despite its many achievements, the Eastern Han Dynasty was not without its challenges. The dynasty faced significant political instability, particularly during the later years of the dynasty. The government was plagued by corruption and factionalism, which led to a decline in the dynasty's power and influence. The Eastern Han Dynasty emerged after the collapse of the Western Han Dynasty. It lasted from 25 AD to 220 AD, a period known as the Late Han Dynasty. The Eastern Han saw a revival of Confucianism, stability and prosperity, and an increase in population, education, and the arts. The Eastern Han established its capital in Luoyang, where the original Han Dynasty was also based. It continued many of the political institutions and cultural traditions of the Western Han. However, Buddhism was introduced and spread during this time, gradually shaping Chinese culture. The Han emperors also promoted Confucian scholarship, establishing imperial universities and supporting Confucian scholars. There were several capable emperors who helped strengthen the Eastern Han, such as Ming Emperor, 58 to 75 AD, and He Emperor, 89 to 105 AD. Under their rule, the Eastern Han expanded its territory, revitalized the civil service examination system, and promoted agriculture and trade. The population doubled from around 50 million to over 100 million people. There was also progress in architecture, sculpture, painting, poetry, and material culture. The Eastern Han faced several challenges, including the rise of regional warlords, invading nomadic tribes, and plagues. An ecological disaster known as the Five Dynasties and Ten Kingdoms period followed its fall. However, the Eastern Han managed to maintain stability for over 400 years, a longer duration than its predecessor. It left a lasting legacy as a pivotal era of revival, unity, and prosperity in ancient China. In summary, the Eastern Han Dynasty witnessed the rebirth of a united and prosperous China after the decline of the Western Han. It preserved Confucian traditions while also absorbing Buddhism. Under capable emperors, the Eastern Han expanded its territory, grew the population, and achieved progress in culture, economy, and society. Although facing threats and eventually falling, the Eastern Han restored stability and vitality to China for over 4 centuries. It stands as an important era of development and unity in ancient Chinese history. The Eastern Han dynasty marked a high point of the Han imperial rule, from which China continued on a path of prosperity for many centuries. Its legacy as a seminal period of revival and unity has endured for over 1,000 years. The Eastern Han dynasty was a period of great prosperity and development in Chinese history. It began in 25 CE, when the Han dynasty was restored after the fall of the Qin dynasty, and it lasted until 220 CE. During this period, the Chinese economy experienced a period of growth and development, and the country's political and social structures were also reformed. The Eastern Han period saw the emergence of an efficient bureaucracy, which was based on the Confucian system of government. This system was based on meritocracy, and it allowed for the appointment of officials based on their knowledge and abilities. This system of government helped to ensure that the country was well governed, and it also helped to promote economic growth. Additionally, the government also implemented a number of reforms, such as the establishment of a unified currency, the introduction of paper money, and the development of a unified taxation system. The Eastern Han period also saw the emergence of a number of cultural and technological advances. During this period, the Chinese developed a number of inventions, such as paper, the compass, and gunpowder. Additionally, the period saw the rise of Confucianism, which became the dominant philosophy of the time. This philosophy helped to shape Chinese society and culture, and it also helped to promote education and literacy. Overall, the Eastern Han period was a period of great prosperity and development in Chinese history. The period saw the emergence of an efficient bureaucracy, the implementation of reforms, and the emergence of a number of cultural and technological advances. These developments helped to shape the country and to create the foundation for the rise of the Chinese Empire. The Eastern Han period, which lasted from 25 AD to 220 AD, was a time of significant development and change in China. During this period, the Han dynasty consolidated its power, expanded its territory, and made important contributions to Chinese culture and society. The Eastern Han period began with the reign of Emperor Guangwu, who overthrew the short-lived Xin dynasty and restored the Han dynasty to power. Under his rule, the Han dynasty began a period of consolidation and expansion, with the acquisition of new territories in the south and west.
The Three Kingdoms period in China, which lasted from 220 to 280 AD, was a time of intense conflict and warfare. During this period, various kingdoms and warlords vied for power and dominance, using a range of military techniques and weapons to gain the upper hand. One of the key military techniques used during the Three Kingdoms period was the use of cavalry. Cavalry units were highly mobile and could quickly maneuver across the battlefield, making them effective at flanking and disrupting enemy formations. Cavalry units were often armed with spears, bows, and other ranged weapons, making them versatile and effective in a range of situations. Another important military technique was the use of siege warfare. The use of siege engines such as catapults, battering rams, and siege towers allowed armies to break through fortified positions and gain control of key strategic locations. The use of siege warfare was particularly important during the later stages of the period, as warlords sought to expand their territories and control. In terms of weapons, the Three Kingdoms period saw the development of a range of new and innovative technologies. One of the most important of these was the crossbow, which was faster and more powerful than traditional bows and allowed soldiers to fire from a greater distance. Other important weapons included the halberd, a long polearm with a hook-like blade that was effective at dismounting cavalry, and the dao, a curved sword that was used by infantry and cavalry units alike. The use of military techniques and weapons during the Three Kingdoms period had a significant impact on the strategies and tactics of the various kingdoms and warlords. The use of cavalry, for example, allowed some warlords to quickly gain the upper hand in battles and expand their territories. The use of siege warfare, on the other hand, allowed armies to break through fortified positions and control key strategic locations. In terms of weapons, the development of new technologies such as the crossbow and the halberd allowed armies to become more effective at a range of different tasks. For example, the use of crossbows allowed armies to fire from a greater distance and take out enemy soldiers before they could get close. The use of the halberd, on the other hand, allowed infantry units to effectively counter cavalry charges. The Three Kingdoms period, which lasted from 220 AD to 280 AD, was a time of significant military innovation and development in China. During this period, the three kingdoms of Wei, Shu, and Wu engaged in a series of wars and battles, utilizing a range of advanced military techniques and weapons. One of the most significant military innovations of the Three Kingdoms period was the development of the crossbow. The crossbow was a powerful and accurate weapon that could be fired from long distances, making it an ideal choice for both offense and defense. The use of crossbows in battle had a significant impact on the strategies and tactics employed by the different kingdoms, as they allowed armies to engage in long-range combat and break through enemy defenses. Another important military technique developed during the Three Kingdoms period was the use of cavalry. The kingdoms of Wei and Wu both had large and well-trained cavalry units, which were used to great effect in battle. Cavalry units were able to move quickly and outflank enemy forces, making them an important part of offensive strategies. In addition to these techniques, the Three Kingdoms period also saw significant advancements in fortification and siege warfare. The use of siege weapons, such as catapults and battering rams, allowed armies to break through enemy defenses and conquer fortified positions. The building of defensive walls and fortifications also played an important role in protecting cities and strategic positions. The use of spies and intelligence gathering was also an important part of military strategy during the Three Kingdoms period. Each kingdom had a network of spies who were used to gather information on enemy movements and plans, allowing them to launch surprise attacks and gain the upper hand in battle. The social upheavals of the Three Kingdoms period had a significant impact on the countries in the region. During this period, there was a period of political instability, and the various states were constantly vying for power and territory. This political instability led to a number of social upheavals, including peasant revolts, civil wars, and invasions by foreign powers. These social upheavals had a significant impact on the countries in the region. For example, the peasant revolts led to a decrease in agricultural production, which had a negative effect on the economy of the countries. Additionally, the civil wars led to a decrease in trade and commerce, which had a negative effect on the economies of the countries. Finally, the invasions by foreign powers led to a decrease in political stability, which had a negative effect on the countries in the region. The development of these military techniques and weapons had a significant impact on the strategies and tactics employed by the different kingdoms during the Three Kingdoms period. The use of crossbows and cavalry, for example, allowed armies to engage in long-range combat and outflank enemy forces. While the use of siege weapons and defensive fortifications helped to protect cities and strategic positions. During the Three Kingdoms period, a number of military techniques and weapons were used by the various states. These techniques and weapons helped to shape the strategies and tactics used by the states, and they had a profound impact on the outcome of the wars. One of the most important military techniques used during this period was the use of cavalry. The cavalry was used by the states to increase their mobility and to launch surprise attacks on their enemies. The cavalry was also used to launch raids on enemy supply lines, and it was often used to attack and capture enemy fortifications. Additionally, the cavalry was also used to protect the state's own supply lines, and it was often used to harass enemy forces and disrupt their supply lines. Another important military technique used during this period was the use of siege engines. Siege engines were used to attack enemy fortifications, and they were often used to breach walls and break down gates. Siege engines were also used to launch projectiles at enemy forces, and they were often used to create a breach in enemy lines. Additionally, siege engines were also used to launch fireballs, which could be used to set enemy fortifications ablaze. Finally, a number of weapons were also used during this period, including swords, spears, bows, and crossbows. These weapons were used to attack enemy forces, and they were also used to defend against enemy attacks. Additionally, these weapons were also used to protect the state supply lines, and they were often used to harass enemy forces and disrupt their supply lines. Overall, a number of military techniques and weapons were used during the Three Kingdoms period, and they had a profound impact on the strategies and tactics used by the states. These techniques and weapons helped to shape the outcome of the wars, and they helped the states to achieve their military objectives. In addition to the military techniques and weapons mentioned earlier, the Three Kingdoms period also saw significant advancements in naval warfare. The Kingdom of Wu, in particular, had a powerful navy that was used to control the Yangtze River and the surrounding waterways. The Wu Navy was made up of large warships, equipped with multiple decks and a range of weapons, including crossbows, catapults, and ballistae.
The rise of the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese Revolution had a profound impact on China and the world. The Chinese Communist Party was founded in 1921, and it was initially a small party with a limited following. However, the party quickly gained support, and it eventually became the ruling party of China in 1949. The Chinese Revolution was a period of political and social upheaval that began in 1949 and lasted until 1976. During this period, the Chinese Communist Party implemented a number of reforms, such as land reform, the collectivization of agriculture, and the nationalization of industry. These reforms helped to create a more equitable society, and they also helped to create a more efficient and productive economy. Additionally, the Chinese Communist Party also implemented a number of social reforms, such as the elimination of feudalism. the introduction of universal education, and the promotion of gender equality. The Chinese Revolution also had a significant impact on the rest of the world. The revolution helped to spread the ideas of communism, and it also helped to inspire other countries to implement similar reforms. Additionally, the Chinese Revolution also helped to create a more unified East Asia, as the countries in the region began to cooperate and work together. Finally, the Chinese Revolution also helped to spread Chinese culture and language to other parts of the world, which helped to create a more interconnected global community. The Communist Party of China, CPC, was founded in 1921, during a period of significant political upheaval in China. The party was inspired by the success of the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, and sought to establish a socialist government in China. Over the course of several decades, the CPC grew in strength and influence, eventually leading the Chinese Revolution and establishing the People's Republic of China in 1949. The CPC's rise to power was not without its challenges. In the early years of its existence, the party faced significant opposition from the ruling Kuomintang, KMT, party, which sought to maintain its hold on power. The CPC also faced challenges from within, particularly during the period of the Great Purge in the late 1930s and early 1940s, when many party members were purged or executed. Despite these challenges, the CPC was able to gain support from a range of different groups, including peasants, workers, and intellectuals. The party's emphasis on social justice and equality appealed to many who were disillusioned with the corruption and inequality of the KMT government. The Chinese Revolution, which began in 1945 and culminated in the establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949, was a complex and multifaceted event. The revolution was the product of a range of different factors, including the CPC's growing strength and influence, the weakness and corruption of the KMT government, and the pressures of the Cold War. The revolution was also characterized by a range of different tactics and strategies, including guerrilla warfare, mass mobilization, and political propaganda. The CPC was able to effectively use these tactics to gain support from a range of different groups, and to undermine the legitimacy of the KMT government. One of the most significant legacies of the Chinese Revolution was the establishment of the People's Republic of China. The new government was based on socialist principles, and sought to promote social justice and equality. The government implemented a range of policies aimed at improving the lives of ordinary Chinese people, including land reform, healthcare, and education. The Chinese Revolution also had a significant impact on the global political landscape. The establishment of the People's Republic of China helped to shift the balance of power in Asia, and contributed to the growing tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union during the Cold War. The Communist Party of China, CPC, was founded in 1921 by Li Dezhou, Chen Duxiu, and others. In its early years, the CPC advocated Marxism and sought to overthrow capitalist rule in China. However, it was small and marginal, facing political repression from the nationalist Kuomintang, KMT, government. The CPC gained new strength and support after the May 4 movement of 1919. Student protesters adopted Marxist and communist ideologies, helping radicalize Chinese youth. The CPC also attracted labor activists and intellectuals seeking social change. Although still small, the CPC posed a challenge to the KMT's dominance. After the Northern Expedition, 1926–1928, the KMT turned against the CPC, attempting to destroy it. This led to the Nanjing Decade, 1928–1937, where the CPC went underground to avoid purges while expanding its influence. It established military forces and base areas in rural regions, preparing for armed revolution. The Japanese invasion of China in 1937 and KMT's poor response created opportunities for the CPC. It joined forces with the KMT to resist Japan, but also used this time to grow its power. After Japan's defeat in World War II, China descended into full-scale civil war between the KMT and CPC. The CPC emerged victorious, forcing the KMT to retreat to Taiwan in 1949. On October 1, 1949, Mao Zedong proclaimed the establishment of the People's Republic of China. The CPC took control, with Mao as its leader. The new regime nationalized industries, collectivized agriculture, and consolidated power through oppressive policies like the Great Leap Forward and Cultural Revolution. These caused widespread famine, chaos, and suffering but strengthened the CPC's grip on China. In summary, the Communist Party of China rose from obscurity to eventually control mainland China. It started small but grew through opportunity and adversity, gaining strength from student movements, labor efforts, and war against enemies. After victory in the Chinese Civil War, the CPC established a communist regime that radically transformed China's society and economy. Despite the immense costs, the CPC's conquest shaped China's destiny in the decades following World War II and modern history. The party has remained in control ever since, with complex consequences for China's development, politics, and position in the world. The rise of the CPC and Communist Revolution in China was a pivotal moment of change that reshaped the nation in the ideology and image of the party. It marked the end of imperial rule and the start of a new era of unity, progress, turmoil, and global ascendance under the CPC. The complex legacy of this revolution has impacted China and the world ever since. The rise of the Communist Party of China, CPC, and the Chinese Revolution were two of the most significant events in 20th-century Chinese history. These developments transformed China's political and social landscape, paving the way for the establishment of the People's Republic of China and shaping the course of Chinese history for decades to come. The industrial and agricultural sectors of China have experienced significant growth and development over the past few decades. The industrial sector has seen a rapid expansion, and it now accounts for a large portion of the country's GDP. Additionally, the agricultural sector has also seen a significant increase in productivity, and it now accounts for a large portion of the country's GDP. The industrial sector has seen a rapid expansion due to the implementation of a number of reforms. These reforms have included the modernization of factories, the development of new technologies, and the introduction of new products. Additionally, the government has also implemented a number of policies to encourage foreign investment and trade, which has helped to drive economic growth. The agricultural sector has also seen a significant increase in productivity. This increase in productivity has been due to the introduction of new technologies and the implementation of new policies. The government has implemented a number of policies to promote agricultural production, such as the introduction of subsidies, the development of new irrigation systems, and the promotion of agricultural research and development. Additionally, the government has also implemented a number of policies to promote foreign investment and trade, which has helped to create new markets and opportunities for businesses. Overall, the industrial and agricultural sectors of China have experienced significant growth and development over the past few decades. These sectors have seen rapid expansion due to the implementation of a number of reforms, and they have also seen a significant increase in productivity due to the introduction of new technologies and the implementation of new policies. These developments have helped to drive economic growth in the country, and they have helped to create new markets and opportunities for businesses. China has undergone significant economic development over the past several decades, with its industrial and agricultural sectors playing a key role in this growth. The country's industrial sector has undergone rapid expansion, while its agricultural sector has undergone significant modernization. In the industrial sector, China has become a major producer of a range of different goods, including electronics, machinery, and textiles. The country's manufacturing sector has been fueled by a range of different factors, including low labor costs, government support for industry, and a large and growing consumer market. One of the key drivers of China's industrial growth has been its investment in infrastructure. The country has invested heavily in the construction of highways, railways, and ports, which has allowed for the efficient movement of goods and people across the country. China's agricultural sector has also undergone significant development over the past several decades. The country has made major investments in modernizing its agricultural infrastructure, including the development of new irrigation systems and the adoption of new farming technologies. One of the key challenges facing China's agricultural sector is the need to feed a growing population with limited arable land. To address this challenge, the government has implemented a range of policies aimed at increasing agricultural productivity, including the promotion of new crop varieties and the adoption of more efficient farming methods. Despite the significant development of both the industrial and agricultural sectors, there are still challenges facing both industries. In the industrial sector, concerns have been raised about environmental degradation and the exploitation of workers. In the agricultural sector, there are concerns about the impact of modernization on traditional farming communities, as well as the need to address food safety and security issues. China's industry and agriculture grew tremendously in the 20th and 21st centuries. In the early 1900s, China's economy was largely agricultural, with little development. However, after the Communist Revolution of 1949, the Chinese economy took on a socialist model, emphasizing rapid industrialization and collectivization. The first five-year plan, 1953 to 1957, focused on key industries like steel, coal, and machinery. Over 20,000 state-owned enterprises were established, and foreign investment was restricted. Growth was fast but inefficient, reflecting the communist ideology. The Great Leap Forward, 1958 to 1960, aimed for dramatic economic growth through rapid collectivization and building of rural industry. However, it led to economic collapse, famine, and tens of millions of deaths. Economic reforms began in 1978 under Deng Xiaoping. Markets opened up, private property and entrepreneurship were allowed, and China embraced free market capitalism with communist characteristics. Special economic zones, like Xinjiang, attracted foreign investment and trade. Throughout the 1980s-2000s, China's economy grew at breakneck speed, with urbanization, manufacturing, and exports fueling development. China now has the world's second-largest economy, a major global manufacturer, and a leader in strategic industries like technology, renewable energy, and green economy. However, growth has also created challenges, including income inequality, pollution, corruption, excessive debts, and over-reliance on exports. China remains a middle-income country, lacking high-productivity industries and innovation. Its economy is also closely tied to the West, facing risks of trade wars and decoupling. In agriculture, China collectivized farmland and banned private property after 1949. The Great Leap Forward led to declining productivity and famine. Reforms began in the late 1970s, allowing for family contracts, rural markets, and township and village enterprises. This boosted supply and reduced poverty, but inequality in rural areas persisted. Today, China has the world's largest agricultural economy, producing over 20% of global food with only 9% of the world's arable land. However, Chinese agriculture faces issues like decreasing productivity growth, water shortages, soil pollution, and aging farmers. There is also overcapacity in meat, grain, and subsidized crops. China's enormous food needs require sustainable and efficient agricultural development while addressing environmental degradation and climate change threats. The development of industry and agriculture has been one of the most important factors driving China's economic growth over the past several decades. Since the introduction of economic reforms in 1978, China has undergone significant changes in both its agricultural and industrial sectors, leading to rapid economic growth and development. In the agricultural sector, China has made significant strides in improving productivity and efficiency. The government has implemented a range of policies aimed at modernizing agriculture, including the development of new seed varieties, irrigation systems, and agricultural machinery. These efforts have led to significant increases in crop yields and agricultural output, helping to feed a growing population and support economic growth. In addition, the government has encouraged the development of large-scale commercial agriculture, with a focus on high-value crops such as fruits, vegetables, and livestock. This shift towards commercial agriculture has helped to increase incomes for farmers, and has also led to the development of new industries and supply chains, such as food processing and distribution.
The Three Kingdoms period saw a number of changes to the customs, etiquette, and social norms in China. During this period, the Chinese people began to adopt a more formal and structured approach to social interaction. And they began to develop a set of rules and regulations that govern the behavior of individuals. Additionally, the Chinese people also began to develop a more unified system of etiquette, which helped to create a more harmonious society. The changes to the customs and etiquette of the Chinese people had a significant impact on the history and culture of China. For example, the adoption of a more formal and structured approach to social interaction helped to create a more unified society. And it also helped to reduce the amount of conflict between individuals and groups. Additionally, the development of a unified system of etiquette helped to create a more harmonious society, and it also helped to promote the spread of Chinese culture to other parts of the world. Overall, the Three Kingdoms period saw a number of changes to the customs, etiquette, and social norms in China. These changes had a significant impact on the history and culture of China, and they helped to create a more unified and harmonious society. Additionally, these changes also helped to promote the spread of Chinese culture to other parts of the world, which helped to create a more interconnected global community. The Three Kingdoms period in China, which lasted from 220 to 280 AD, was a time of significant social and cultural change. During this period, China experienced significant shifts in its customs, traditions, and social structures, which had a profound impact on the country's history and culture. One of the key changes during the Three Kingdoms period was the emergence of a new social order. The period was marked by the decline of the imperial system and the rise of regional warlords and kingdoms, which led to a significant shift in power and influence. This shift in power also led to changes in the social hierarchy, with new groups such as merchants and soldiers gaining greater prominence and influence. The Three Kingdoms period was also marked by significant changes in cultural and artistic expression. The period saw the development of new forms of literature, including historical novels and romantic poetry. These works often focused on themes of loyalty, bravery, and honor, reflecting the tumultuous and chaotic nature of the period. Another significant change during the Three Kingdoms period was the evolution of religious beliefs and practices. The period saw the rise of new religious movements, including Taoism and Buddhism, which had a significant impact on Chinese culture and society. These religions emphasized the importance of individual spiritual development and the attainment of enlightenment, and helped to shape the development of Chinese philosophy and culture. In terms of social customs and traditions, the Three Kingdoms period saw significant changes as well. The period was marked by an increasing emphasis on individualism and personal freedom, as well as a growing interest in material wealth and luxury. This was reflected in changes in fashion and clothing, with new styles and trends emerging that emphasized the importance of personal expression and style. The changes in social customs, cultural expression, and religious beliefs during the Three Kingdoms period had a profound impact on Chinese history and culture. These changes helped to shape the development of Chinese philosophy, literature, and art, and contributed to the evolution of Chinese society and politics. Today, the legacy of the Three Kingdoms period can be seen in many aspects of Chinese culture, including literature, art, and philosophy. In addition to the changes in social customs and cultural expression, the Three Kingdoms period also saw significant developments in technology and agriculture. The period saw the invention of new technologies, including the wheelbarrow, the stirrup, and the crossbow. These technologies helped to improve agricultural productivity and efficiency, and played a significant role in the growth and expansion of the Chinese economy. The Three Kingdoms period was also marked by the development of new agricultural practices, including the use of irrigation systems and the cultivation of new crops. These practices helped to improve food security and reduce the impact of natural disasters such as droughts and floods. Despite the significant changes and developments during the Three Kingdoms period, the period was also marked by significant conflict and war. The period was characterized by a series of wars and battles between the various kingdoms and warlords, which had a significant impact on Chinese society and culture. The conflicts of the Three Kingdoms period helped to shape the development of Chinese military strategy and tactics, and contributed to the evolution of Chinese martial arts and combat sports. The period also saw the emergence of new heroes and legends, including figures such as Guan Yu and Zhao Yun, who remain popular cultural icons in China today. The Three Kingdoms period, which lasted from 220 AD to 280 AD, was a time of significant change and transformation in Chinese society. During this period, the three kingdoms of Wei, Shu, and Wu engaged in a series of wars and battles, leading to significant changes in social norms and customs. One of the most significant changes during the Three Kingdoms period was the rise of the warrior class. As the kingdoms engaged in frequent warfare, the status and importance of warriors grew, and they became a prominent social group. The warrior class was characterized by its martial prowess, loyalty to the state, and adherence to a strict code of honor and conduct. Another significant change during the Three Kingdoms period was the emergence of a merit-based system of government. This system was based on the principles of Confucianism, which emphasized the importance of education, virtue, and moral behavior. This system replaced the traditional system of hereditary rule, in which power was passed down through family lines. In addition, the Three Kingdoms period saw significant changes in the roles and status of women. Women were increasingly able to participate in public life, with some even taking on roles as military commanders and political advisors. The development of a more equal society was reflected in literature and art, with depictions of strong and independent women becoming more prevalent. The Three Kingdoms period also saw significant changes in art and culture. Literature, music, and art flourished during this time, with many of China's greatest works of literature and art produced during this period. This era also saw the emergence of new forms of art, such as landscape painting and calligraphy. The changes in social norms and customs during the Three Kingdoms period had a significant impact on Chinese history and culture. The rise of the warrior class and merit-based system of government laid the foundation for later developments in Chinese military and political history. The growing status of women and the flourishing of art and culture during this time also contributed to the development of a more diverse and vibrant society. In addition to the changes in social norms and customs mentioned earlier, the Three Kingdoms period also saw significant developments in technology and engineering. The kingdoms of Wei, Shu, and Wu all made significant strides in the fields of agriculture, irrigation, and transportation, which helped to support their growing economies and populations. One of the most significant technological developments of the Three Kingdoms period was the invention of the wheelbarrow. This simple but effective device allowed farmers to transport heavy loads of crops and materials more efficiently, and helped to increase agricultural productivity. The invention of the wheelbarrow had a significant impact on Chinese agriculture, and its use spread rapidly throughout the country. Another important technological development during the Three Kingdoms period was the construction of new irrigation systems. The Ming dynasty saw a significant development in trade and commerce, and this development had a significant impact on the modern Chinese society and economy. During this period, the Ming government implemented a number of reforms to encourage trade and commerce, and these reforms helped to create a more prosperous society. One of the most important reforms of the Ming Dynasty was the implementation of a unified currency system. This system helped to simplify trade and commerce, and it also helped to promote economic development. Additionally, the Ming government also implemented a number of policies to encourage foreign trade and investment, which helped to create new markets and opportunities for businesses. The Ming Dynasty also saw the development of a number of important industries, such as mining, agriculture, and manufacturing. These industries helped to create a more prosperous society, and they also helped to create new jobs and opportunities for individuals. Additionally, the development of these industries also helped to create a more interconnected global economy, as the Chinese people began to trade with other countries. Overall, the Ming Dynasty saw a significant development in trade and commerce, and this development had a significant impact on the modern Chinese society and economy. These reforms and developments helped to create a more prosperous society, and they also helped to create new markets and opportunities for businesses. Additionally, these reforms and developments also helped to create a more interconnected global economy, which has helped to shape the modern world. The Qing Dynasty, 1644 to 1912, in China was marked by significant developments in commerce and business, as the country underwent a period of economic growth and expansion. The period saw the emergence of new commercial practices and institutions, which had a profound impact on Chinese society and culture. One of the key developments during the Qing Dynasty was the growth of international trade. The period saw the expansion of China's trade relations with other countries, particularly with European powers such as Britain and France. This expansion of trade helped to fuel the growth of China's economy, and contributed to the development of new industries and commercial enterprises. Another significant development during the Qing Dynasty was the growth of domestic trade. The period saw the emergence of new commercial centers and markets throughout China, as well as the development of new transportation and communication technologies. These developments helped to connect different regions of China and facilitated the movement of goods and people across the country. The growth of commerce and business during the Qing Dynasty had a significant impact on Chinese society and culture. These developments helped to foster the growth of a new merchant class, which played an important role in the country's economic and social development. The growth of commerce and business also helped to shape the development of Chinese art and culture. As new forms of art and entertainment emerged to cater to the growing demand of a new consumer class. Today, the legacy of the growth of commerce and business during the Qing Dynasty can be seen in many aspects of modern China's economy and society. The country's rapid economic growth and development over the past several decades can be traced back to the expansion of commerce and business during the Qing Dynasty. The emergence of new commercial practices and institutions also laid the groundwork for the development of modern Chinese business practices and institutions, which continue to shape the country's economic and social development today. The Qing Dynasty, 1636 to 1912 AD, saw major growth in commerce and business in China. This led to changes that shaped modern Chinese society and economy. When the Qing took power, China's economy was still largely agrarian. The Qing expanded trade links with the West, including Britain. This led to the import of opium, which caused social problems but also stimulated the economy. The Qing built new roads and canals to facilitate commerce. As trade expanded, cities grew rapidly. Beijing's population tripled during the Qing. Merchants emerged as a new social class. Wealthy merchants could build lavish homes and gain high social status. There was also greater geographical mobility as business caused people to migrate for work. Regional specialization developed, with areas focusing on rice, tea, silk, or industry. This increased productivity but also economic interdependence. Famines caused by crop failure could spread more easily across regions. Major ports like Shanghai, Guangzhou, Xiamen, and Fuzhou became hubs for trade, finance, and foreign investment. Western imperialism threatened China's economy and sovereignty. The Qing tried to modernize to compete, but efforts were limited. After defeat in the Opium Wars, foreign powers gained control of trade ports and the right to sell opium. Unequal treaties caused resentment but also spurred calls for reform. Reforms in the 1900s aimed to build a modern economy with industries, railways, schools, and new legal and financial systems. However, reforms came too late and were limited. By the early 1900s, China remained poor, unstable, and semi-colonized. The economic legacy of the Qing included both promise of progress and pain of exploitation. The Qing era saw the transition from an agrarian to a commercial economy in China, with lasting impacts. Growth of trade, cities, ports, and merchant wealth shaped society and opportunities. Specialization increased productivity but also vulnerability. Western imperialism threatened China's very sovereignty and identity. And late, incomplete reforms highlighted both the promise and peril of economic change. This transition period left a tangled legacy of progress, exploitation, and resentment that has influenced China's economy and society ever since. In summary, commerce and business expanded massively in Qing dynasty China, with huge consequences. Trade links grew, cities swelled, new wealth emerged, and economic interdependence developed. However, threats also emerged, from within and without, challenging China's economy, independence, and stability. The complex legacy of the Qing era, including promise of progress and pain of exploitation, has impacted China right up until today.